Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for coming to see our guest, Alex Menendez. I'm going to start off by reading a little bit about what Alex has done. So Alex is an Emmy-award winning professional videographer and photojournalist and the owner of Instinct Video and Film Productions and Delve Productions, Inc. He's also a contracted photographer for the Associated Press and Getty Images Sports Wire Services, and he travels the globe covering numerous sporting events and breaking news. Alex is a 1990 graduate from Full Sail University with a Recording Arts and Engineering certificate. After graduation, he joined LJ Productions in Fort Myers, Florida, where he became lead videographer and nonlinear editor, winning major awards including an Emmy, numerous Tellys and Aurora Awards, and the State of Florida Governor's Award for Environmental Education. During his time, he traveled to Spain, Alaska, Honduras, El Salvador, and through the Caribbean, honing his shooting skills both underwater and in the air. Clients include Clients include the Travel Channel, ESPN, all major broadcast networks, and hundreds of corporate clients. In 1997, Alex ventured off on his own and formed Instinct Video and Film Productions in Orlando, Florida. He's been to Alaska, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados, and he's garnered more experience, and it's allowed Alex the opportunity to create his own episodic television show that ran monthly on the Sunshine Network, which was known as the Fox Sports Florida. Alex continues to be a leader in the field of photography, and is a regular speaker across the United States and has been an invited educator and guest speaker at several universities. Alex is planning a worldwide photo workshop in late 2016. Let's give him a round of applause and welcome Alex. All right, Alex, so I've shared a bit about your background and your experience. Why don't you start by telling us more about your businesses and what you've been doing recently?
Okay, first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and thanks for showing up and listening. Lately I've been working, I have two companies, Instinct Films and Delve Productions. And Delve Productions is, I have a partner named Steve Kidd, and we formed that about 15 years ago. And what we're doing right now is basically working for some large publishing companies, and we do a lot of medical. So it sounds kind of boring, but it pays the bills. I travel around and we do training for surgeons. So it's the American College of Surgeons, which is the largest corporation of doctors that basically write the rules on how you do surgery. So we go to different hospitals and we basically do training. So we teach the war medics at Walter Reed how to do procedures on people, and we work with cadavers, which is kind of gross, but it's you know, you want to do things the right way. So that's what we've been doing lately. For the past couple of years, my personal project has been, I've been working on a boxing, I do a lot of boxing, I shoot a lot of boxing for a lot of the major networks, Showtime, HBO, that sort of stuff. And I've been working on a documentary for about the last 5 years about a kid named Ryan that's out of the Bahamas. And I should finish that up here, August, September, that timeline, that, you know, and hope to get that into some festivals. So that's something that I've been working on. Otherwise, I've just been shooting a lot of sports. Orlando City Soccer just started. We just finished up the NFL season. What else? Michael Phelps. I worked with Michael Phelps about 3 weeks ago. He was in Orlando, and did 3 days of shooting with him, and he's an awesome guy. So I'm pretty lucky in getting to choose what I want to do, and I've just been really fortunate.
So tell us more about the relationship you have with Getty and AP.
Okay. I'm a contract photographer for both Getty and AP. If you're a staffer, you're obviously a full-time professional that shoots just for one of those wire agencies. They get their own camera gear handed to them, they get to travel, they get insurance, they get a paycheck. I'm not one of those guys. They contacted me, AP contacted me first about 4 years ago. They were looking at some of my shots, they were looking at my coverage of NFL, things of that nature, and they asked me if I wanted to sign on. So what I did was I looked at the contract, which has changed, and it was a good split for me. Basically, I would shoot sporting events for them, upload images, and they would push those images for me to the New York Times, the Washington Post, anybody else that was a subscriber. And I signed on for that as a contributor. That eventually led to more paying jobs, higher paying jobs, where they would call me up for a certain event and say, hey, we want to get you here, we want to have you cover this. That paid very well. The problem with that contract is once they pay you as a work for hire, they own those images. So it's kind of my choice if I want to be a contributor on a particular project or if I want to be considered freelance on that particular project. Some jobs pay more, some jobs are small, and they're not very widely known sports. Rugby, for example. In the States, rugby is very small. It's growing. It's going to be an Olympic sport this year. But I'm not going to make a lot of money pushing those images myself because there's not a lot of buyers. So in that particular case, I would shoot for AP or I would shoot for Getty, have them pay me my day rate, and they basically own the images. I'll talk more about contracts in a little bit. But so I signed on with AP, and then Getty approached me a couple of years ago, and they have different departments. They have editorial, they have sports, they have entertainment. They basically hired me for a sports photographer. So I've been fortunate in that because I like to shoot boxing. Getty's big time into boxing, and they've sent me to New York, they've sent me to California, they've sent me to Las Vegas, and obviously in Florida. So it's a win-win for me, and that's basically what I've been doing.
All right, so as a freelancer and an independent business owner, what steps do you take to protect your creative work?
There's a lot of steps. Business-wise, it's a nightmare now because the internet is so accessible. Everybody sees your stuff, no matter whether you put it up on purpose or it gets stolen. I have a PhotoShelter account right now, which it's photoshelter.com. I've had them since the inception of when they were created. And that's basically, I started it out as an archive. So all of my stuff, when I shoot, I download my cards, I back them all up to 2 hard drives, one at my house, one in a basically big gun safe that I have. And then I also put the images up onto the PhotoShelter site. And that's, like I said, it started out as just an archival process, so I would always make sure that I had my stuff backed up in case one of my drives got lost or got wet or got stolen, whatever. Now you can sell images through that as well. Now you got to be careful when you sell your images because if you're shooting for the NFL or PGA or Daytona 500, whatever, when you get your credential to shoot that event, it's only for editorial purposes only. You can't use it for personal. You can't sell it to friends. You can't sell it at the mall. So you have to watch what each particular event's credential states. So I do sell stuff through PhotoShelter, paid, aerial stuff, you know, waves, oceans, beaches, things of that nature. But as far as the pro sports go, you're not allowed to sell them. So, you know, when I put the images up to Getty, when I upload them to Getty or to AP, they're basically locked in. They get tagged with a Getty watermark, and I don't touch those images again. There's images that I've put up 5, 6, 10 years ago that I've never even looked at again once I put them up. So you just gotta know going in, you know, how to cover your butt and what you can do and what you cannot do with these photos. And it's very interesting. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people get in trouble for pushing images. You know, hey man, I need a Peyton Manning shot. Can you give it to me? And I know friends that have given them away. Well, you're not supposed to do that. And if the league finds out that you did that, your credentials yanked, you won't be back. And I know a couple people, I haven't seen them in years because they were giving away photos or selling photos. So you need to know going in, when you sign a contract with a particular league or you're there paid for somebody else, you need to know what you're going to do with those photos or those videos or that music. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you've told me some stories about how you've dealt with piracy and how that's impacted you in your career. And I know that you've brought some illustrations to kind of show what's happened with some of the images. So I'd love for you to show that.
Yeah.
Over it.
How many of you guys are photographers? Anybody? And how many of you make music? Okay. How many of you put stuff up on the internet every day? Pretty much everybody, right? Yeah. I was on assignment for the Associated Press. The U.S. women's national team was here a couple years ago, and they were playing Brazil, which is their biggest rival. And I was asked, you know, AP sent a staffer. They had somebody there that was getting paid to be there. And I decided that I know that you're always going to make money in soccer worldwide, so I showed up as a contributor, which means I was not getting paid. I was there, but I'm allowed as a contributor to put my images up onto the AP Images website, and they'll push my images. So there's a split. Every single image they sell, I get money, I get royalties. So I'm making money regardless. But it was my choice to show up as a contributor. So I went to the game, it was down at the Citrus Bowl, and Abby Wambach and Sidney LaRue were there. And like I said, it was their rival, so all the wire services were there, Reuters, AP, Getty, a couple of the other services. And they had set the stadium up just a little bit different. So for this particular shot, I decided to go to the far side, which is this side of the stadium. And I brought my laptop with me. Now they had a media room, everybody had internet, hardwired, and I decided, well, if something happens, I want to be the first one to get an image up. So sure enough, Sidney LaRue, the girl on the bottom here, she scored a goal. And Abby Wambach ran up and jumped onto her back really quick. If you go to my Twitter account, I put the link up to the video so you can see how quick it actually happened. But she jumped up, I happened to snap this shot really quick, immediately pulled the card, uploaded the image to AP, and within 3 minutes, I think, this thing was on the wire. Well, about 5 minutes after the goal, ESPN decided that they were gonna, they bought the image and they put it up. So it was a live game, it was on NBC or CBS, whatever, one of the networks. So they put it up and they kept reviewing it and replaying it, and this was the shot that got picked up everywhere. Well, the problem with selling an image through AP is that once ESPN bought it, there's no watermark, there's no AP, there's no nothing, it's just credit. So it was basically a clean shot. Well, everybody knows how to screen grab. So this image got screen grabbed and started to get shared by halftime. It was already up on, I think, somebody's Tumblr site, and they shared it, and then they shared it again, and then they shared it again, and before you know it, everybody was reblogging the shot. Now, this was literally 20 minutes after I took the image. Yeah, so before you know it, all these little girls were having their favorite, Abby Wambach shots on their Pinterest sites, their, what is this, another Tumblr site. So these were all shared and shared and shared and shared. And then Abby Wambach the next day decided she was going to tweet it out with no credit. So that got more hits, and before you know it, this thing was shared almost 10,000 times overnight. Now, mind you, if I was working for an agency, it wouldn't matter to me as much because I was already getting my paycheck. But because I decided to go as a contributor, every single time this thing was shared, I was losing money. So, it's kind of a contrast. It's you got to decide ahead, going ahead. If you're going to put this image up, you got to know that it's going to be out there for everybody to use. I'm trying to take a look because I can't see, so it ended up on Pinterest. At the end of the day, this thing ended up on t-shirts. I saw this image on iPhone covers, iPhone cases, and it was all hijacked, it was all stolen. So I called Tumblr, I said, hey, I'm gonna do a DMCA takedown, I need this image removed. And they're like, well, you need to write and fill out this form for every single incident. So I'm gonna fill this thing out, I have to track everybody down and fill it out 10,000 times or more just to make them take it down. So at this point, I'm losing a lot of money, but there's nothing I can do. The thing just went viral, and I basically got worked. So I'm going to talk to you in a few minutes about copyright and why you need to copyright things and how it works. I'm not sure if you guys do know that or not, but there's different incidences. You want to talk about contracts real quick? Okay.
Go for it. Let's go into it.
You guys are a lot of you are in the business world. What have you learned about contracts yet? Anything?
Depends where they're at in the program. Some of them have probably
no two contracts are the same, right? Like I told you 5 years ago when I signed with AP, they gave me a particular contract. Well, that contract's been revised numerous times. So the photographers coming out now, they're not getting the same deal I'm getting. I'm not sure what their royalty rate is. I'm not sure what their percentage is, but I know it's not as much as I'm getting. And that's just because over time, the industry has started to decline a little bit. So when you go into sign a contract, whether it's for music or for video or for royalty, whatever it is, you need to make sure that you agree with it before you sign it. I can't really read that right now, but some of the contracts that are out there, work for hire, obviously a staffer position if you're going to be full-time, freelance, which is what I do. A hybrid contract is one form of a contract, there's buyout and contributor. The hybrid contract is interesting. That's when a particular service or employer sends you to an event on their credential and they pay you, but you only have to put up 20 images. Normally you put up about 40 to 50 images of an event, and with a hybrid you only put up 20 images. Everything after that, they own those first 20. They can do whatever they want to with, but everything after that you get a percentage of. So I make a lot of money on royalties, which is, I'm still making money on images I did 4 or 5 years ago that continue to sell. So in the long run, it's worth it for me to look at the particular contract or the particular terms that I'm going to work under for that particular event. So, you know, business-wise, just kind of ask around, see what the industry standard is in your area, and if there's other people that are doing it, you know, getting a better contract than you or whatever, you kind of want to know that going in before you sign your contract, because once you sign your contract with these agencies, it's a 3-year deal, and they've got you locked in. The only other alternative to get out of it is to not work. So it's up to you whether you want to work or not work, get your stuff pushed, get your stuff not pushed. So just read what the terms are. When it comes to negotiations, you can always ask for stuff. Don't be afraid to ask. I know a lot of photographers that are just happy to get representation, which is good, but in the long run it can screw you too, because If you get a bad deal and you don't know it, a year down the road when you're in demand and you have a specialty and you're the best photographer for that particular sport, going back a year, if you didn't negotiate a deal, they might own you, which is not good. So some of the things that I negotiate, I'm sorry I got to turn around, but it's, you can talk about your pay rate and the percentages. Like I said, I get royalties on all the images that I sell. Some people get 50%, some people get 30%, some people get 10%. Obviously, I'm going to want the 50%. So you got to negotiate and stand by your guns and stick up for why you think you deserve a bigger pay rate.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yep.
That's a good question there. So when would you say you have leverage and when do you not?
If they come after you, if a client comes after you because they really like what you've done and they really like your style, then obviously you've got them. You can squeeze them a little bit more. If you're just a regular guy coming in off the street, or you haven't really shot that particular event before, when I shoot NFL games, I don't just shoot cheerleader, head coach, quarterback. I find out what's going on in the news, what players are in trouble, what players are about to get traded. There's different backstories, and you have to know those particular things because those images are going to be hot the next day. Sure, you can shoot Peyton Manning throwing a touchdown, but if you know the water boy is dealing drugs and he's doing something with the team and somebody's cheating or something, obviously you're going to want to shoot that particular person too. So you got to kind of study. The more learned you are in that particular sport, you're going to be able to demand more. You're going to be able to ask for more money. And people have niches. Everybody has a particular specialty. Some people like rap music, some people like country music. If you're the rap artist and you got a bunch of hot hits, and the country guy comes to you and offers you a deal, you're not going to have as much leverage because you're not, schooled in that particular genre of music. But when you're hot, you're going to be able to demand more money. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Okay. Another thing that I have to deal with is embargo and delivery requirements. When you're embargoed, let's just say, for instance, I shot the Michael Phelps thing a couple weeks ago. I can't just put those photos up. There's what's called an embargo. The advertising agency, the sponsor, whoever, they want you to sit on those pictures. So I can take pictures today, but they might not be seen for 6 months because they're going to be used in a store, they're going to be used online in packaging. So you need to know going in, based on the contract that you sign, that if there's an embargo, you're not allowed to put those images up. Imagine if I'd started putting pictures of Phelps up the next day on my Twitter, on my Instagram, on my whatever. They're going to come after me and say, what the heck are you doing? You can't put this out. We paid you to shoot these. He's here. We've only got him for 2 hours. And you just basically killed our whole advertising campaign. They're going to come after me for 10, 20, 30 grand, whatever it is, and say, what's the deal? So you need to know going in if there's going to be an embargo on stuff, if there's going to be what the delivery requirements are. Are they expecting you to give them 4 hard drives full of footage, different things? So know that going in. It's the same thing for music, If you cut a certain track, or if you've got a sample or something, if you've got a really hot tune, whatever it's called, you can't just start sharing that with all your friends and say, hey, check this out, look what I mixed. I had so-and-so in the studio. You got to kind of keep your cool and let the client start to trust you. The more they trust you, the more they're going to bring you back in. So there's little things like that that a lot of people don't think about. They just want to brag, and that's not the way to do business. Another thing is credit. On this particular image that I showed you, it said photo credit Alex Menendez AP on the bottom. If that would have won an award, let's just say you win an Oscar, a Telly, whatever it is, you want to know ahead of time that, hey, I mixed this track, I worked on this song, am I going to get credit when this thing wins a Grammy? And there's ways that you can, they're going to laugh at you and like, why would you? You're not the guy that sang it. He said, well, neither are you. We all worked on this together. Let me know that I can get a recording credit on this. I want to be able to put this on my resume if I win a Grammy. So talk about that kind of stuff ahead of time. You can't do it after the fact, because once you've signed the deal, it's locked in gold. Buyout or not, that's one of those things that doesn't really, it's not that, if they hire you as a work for hire, they pretty much own everything that you do. You shot it with your cameras, you lit it, you did everything, but at the end of the day, they own those images. You need to ask them, can I use these in my portfolio? This was some really good stuff. I'm at the beach shooting Kelly Slater and there's a rainbow behind him. It's a really cool shot. Can I put this on my portfolio? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. So you have to negotiate all this stuff up front. And then once again, if you're going to travel, if you've got incidentals. You know, if they're going to pay you a flat fee of $1,000 for the day, does that include airline? Does that include travel? Does that include rental car? That kind of stuff. So once again, you just need to, you know, just going in, you just need to know what the deal is before you start the work.
Are there any terms that you always make sure are in your contract?
No, because there's a lot of different, it's just like lawyers, everybody writes up their own deal and nothing's ever the same. No two deals are the same. So, you know, you always try to ask for more, even on my pay rate. If I know I'm only gonna get $700 for the day, I'll ask for 13 and let them talk me down in hopes that I can get 1,000. So you just gotta kind of work the system, and you know, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've seen how the game is played. And unfortunately, you know, it takes experience. You guys are going to get burned more than once, I'm sure, at some point in your life. And it's just use that as a learning experience and move forward. You know, and don't always just cover your own butt. If you've got peers or if you got friends that you're working with, look out for them too, and they'll remember that, because in this industry, it's all word of mouth, and it's you know, tight collaborations, and you guys need to stay friends with everybody. Don't burn your bridges. So if you can help somebody else out, or if they're not understanding a particular term on a contract or understanding a particular deal, you know, if you have a question, ask somebody else. It's worth $100 if you got to hire a lawyer to read it over, because like I said, you might be losing out on a $10, $20, $30,000 deal over $100. So don't be afraid to ask. What's next? Real quick, I'm going to run through this super quick. So this was, I shoot a lot of boxing, and this was in New York. And this was a job that Getty Images had paid me. They paid me to go to New York. And this was a buyout, basically. Shoot the images, upload 50 shots, and Getty owns them. So this was a big fight. It got picked up by, obviously, some of the websites. Well, once they're online and they're not watermarked again, anybody can grab them. Well, this particular company decided to steal a bunch of Getty's images, and they started putting out, you know, product. They started putting out, once again, iPhone cases, hats, things of that nature. So, you know, I'm obviously putting the images up for the wire services to show and to get seen. But in this particular case, it was up to Getty to track them down. I don't know if they ever did or not, but I showed them some of the work that got stolen. And yeah, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if they pursued them or not. So it's good for me because my name gets seen, you know, but in a sense, it's also bad because they're ripping off pictures again. So. And then last thing is, this is a guy named Neil Leifer. I'm not sure if you know Neil or not. He took this shot, and he's a pretty good friend of mine. That's the Muhammad Ali shot that became famous. Neil was working for Sports Illustrated at the time, which these images now are owned by Getty. They bought the licensing rights, I believe. But Neil was shooting for Sports Illustrated on assignment, so he was paid to be there, so he doesn't own these images. And I'm not sure how much money Neil personally lost. So you got to know going in, is it something you want to shoot as a contributor? Is it something you want to shoot as a, basically give away the images? So just know going in, if it's an event, like I said, if you think you're going to make money down the road, don't go for the buyout. Don't go for the, you know, I'm going to sell you all my images. Yeah, this is basically what I'm saying is if you think you're going to make money on it down the road, copyright the image, get it copywritten, and then, you know, just put it out as you want to.
I think one of the most interesting things you've told me in our conversations is that you don't copyright everything that you do. So we talk more about when you make that decision. I know you just talked about it a little bit more, but what do you copyright? What don't you copyright? What compels you to do that?
Okay. I shoot a lot of NFL games. I've shot a couple Super Bowls, and on those it was my option again to be paid or to hold on to my own copyright. And I decided at that point, because there was probably 300 photographers at that game, I'm not going to get anything different than somebody else got. There's not going to be a fabulous play that I missed, or that I got that somebody missed. So on all my NFL stuff, I copyrighted them, but I didn't, I uploaded them to the wire services, but they don't own the images. I shoot a lot of boxing. I think I got it here. Nope, I'll have to show you later. But if it's something that I know is going to make money down the road, I won't copyright those images. If it's just a particular baseball game, or if it's just a particular star or musician or somebody where I can't do anything with the images, if I shoot a rock star, they already have their own photographer in the pit or on stage. they give us 2 or 3 songs to shoot. So if I got, let's just say Jennifer Lopez, whatever, J-Lo. So I get it in there, I shoot some shots of her. Based on the credential, I really can't do anything with those photos except use them for the wire service or the newspaper that I was shooting for, the magazine I was shooting for. So I can take 3 pictures of her screaming into the mic, put them up on the service, they'll buy them for editorial services, and I might make 30, 40, 50 bucks, whatever it is, not a lot of money. So I don't copyright those. On those I put them on Twitter, I put them on Facebook, depending on what the terms on the back of the credentials say. But there's a lot of stuff there that I'll just push the images just to get more exposure. If it's something that's coming up, an event, let's just say there's a rodeo coming up and I really want to shoot the rodeo because the baddest bull in the world is going to be there, I'll take some of my cowboy pictures that I shot. I did some cattle drives. I'll put some of those up just to garner some interest to get the credentialing service to look at my work so that I'll be able to get credentialed to shoot that event and then eventually put it up to AP or Getty as a contributor to make work. So I'm kind of working backwards. I'm kind of pre-planning ahead of time. This is the event that's going to happen. This is what I want. This is what it's going to do. The Invictus Games are coming here to Disney in a month. It's wounded warriors from all over the world that lost limbs, lost legs. It's almost their own version of the Special Olympics or the Olympics. They're here to compete. They're going to be doing rugby, a bunch of other different sports. Michelle Obama's going to be here. You guys probably read about this morning. Prince Harry's going to be here. So, I like rugby. I think rugby is just a badass sport. So I want to go shoot wheelchair rugby, and I started putting stuff out. I ended up getting credentialed, so I'm one of the few people that are allowed to shoot it, but I had to put some other sports up, some swimming stuff up, some different rugby shots that I've done, just so that they could see that I'm legitimate and that I'm going to get them some coverage. So,
can you talk a little more about how you get credentialed? Because you're saying that you're pushing stuff out for them to see. Are you actually sending that to them, or how does that work?
To get credentialed, you need to be, the NFL used to have maybe 60, 70 photographers on the sideline. That's been cut down drastically to almost 30. There's probably 30 photographers now. 4 of those will be AP photographers because AP has the contract. A couple will be from Getty, a couple will be from Icon, a couple will be from US Press Wire, USA Today Sports. So it fills up pretty quick. Because I'm now in with the wire services, I can apply for credentials through the wire services because they know it's going to get pushed. It's harder and harder and harder now. Sometimes the sponsors will apply for credentials. Sometimes some of the sports teams, recruits, some of the, if you have a football player like Bruce Miller that used to play at UCF, he now plays for the 49ers. So if UCF wanted to do a story on Bruce Miller, they would call for a credential, most likely get in, and they would send a photographer to the NFL game to cover Bruce, and they would shoot whatever else they wanted to do. But it's getting harder and harder and harder. What I would recommend if you want to be a sports photographer, sports videographer, start shooting high school games, work your way up to college, and do personal projects. If you can shoot, I don't know, surfing, skateboarding, sports that aren't the norm, like the big baseball, soccer, that kind of stuff. Start shooting, start pushing your stuff, and see if you can, maybe make it into the newspaper, or make it into make it into print somehow, and get to know the guys that are working the sidelines. If you can have lunch with me, if you can have lunch with John Rayax from AP, if you can have lunch with some of the people that are currently shooting, and offer to I don't want to say shoot for free, but tag along. They're not always going to be able to get you into the bigger events, but they can get you into the smaller events. Shoot some, swimming, diving, anything that you can do in the area that's popular. Try to work your way in that way and get some of your images seen. Push your images. Let them, do little stories, do little video vignettes, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you're going to do, and just keep tagging stuff, keep tagging stuff, keep tagging stuff. And eventually you're going to get seen. If you're good, if you're really passionate about something, you'll get picked up. Somebody will see your work. Most likely you'll start shooting for the Sentinel. They freelance a lot of people. They had, I think, 16 staffers 2 years ago. They're down to 6 now. So they freelance everything. They don't want to pay the insurance. They don't want to pay that sort of stuff on the staffers. So just keep pushing. That's all I can recommend, unfortunately.
Okay, so I want to switch gears and ask you some other questions, but I think you had some other stuff you wanted to cover beforehand, right?
Yeah, real quick, and you guys, I'll put this up later. Some of the places that I go to is asmp.org. They have really good information on how to copyright your stuff, whether it be music, art, videos, stills, and I think it's really important that you guys copyright your stuff. The way the process works is you upload your images, or you basically tag your images, upload them, and you pay your $35, and what they do is they'll send you basically a UPC code. If somebody infringes on your shots, if somebody steals your stuff and they start printing your work, or they steal your music and they start that sort of stuff, start sampling it and start using it as their own, unless your work is copyrighted with the U.S. Copyright Service, you don't have a case. You have to prove that it was your work. You have to send in a copyright, send in your product, get a copyright sheet of paper basically that shows that your work is there. When they steal your work, you tell them, hey, this is copywritten stuff, I'm not messing around, pull it down, pay me my money, whatever it is you want out of them at that time. If they fight you, you'll have to go to court. Once you go to court, you have to prove that you have a copyright notice and that it was copyrighted. Otherwise, the judge is going to throw the case out. Did you guys hear about Rick Ross 2 days ago? Yeah. The LMFAO, they sampled one of his songs and he was trying to, the case got thrown out 2 days ago. He was going to sue them for copyright infringement on one of the songs that they did. And judge came back and said, you filled out the paperwork wrong. They booted the whole case, it's done. So there's a process to do it, there's a process that has to be done before they'll even take your case to court. So go to one of these websites if you can. I would suggest the first one. That's got tutorials that teach you how to go through and copyright your stuff, and it's very interesting to see how it works. But I don't copyright everything because in the long run, if it's a shot that I really don't care about, if it's an event that I don't care about, let them steal my pictures. I'm not going to lose a ton of money. But if it's stuff that I have that's very personal and private, I'll copyright them, and stuff that I know I'm going to make money on down the road, I'll copyright those images.
I think you told me, you shot Trump not that long ago, right, in Tampa?
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about, did you copyright some of that?
The Trump stuff I did not copyright, only because there's so much of it out there, and the guy only does one thing. He stands at the podium, he yells, and his hair flops around. So, I mean, there's different angles of the guy, from above, below, beside him. I shot that for Rex Features out of England, because they, obviously, it's a different country and they're concerned about our politics. So they hired me to come in down to Tampa and shoot. So I shot him, but to be honest with you, we were locked into one pit. We were in an area not much larger than this. He kept booing us. He kept telling us how bad the media was, how bad we make him look. And everybody behind us was yelling, and kind of, if they would have had bottles, they probably would have thrown them at us just because. But I didn't copyright that stuff. It was an interesting event, but there's so much of that stuff out there. He does 1 or 2 events a day, maybe 5 or 10 a week. That I shot it on a Tuesday. By Friday, my stuff is obsolete, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay, so as a successful business owner, what tips could you share with those that have the creative-minded side of things but are also trying to run a business, which is probably a good majority of the people in the room in some form?
Tips. I think I wrote some down. This is kind of stuff I knew earlier, but these are tips as well. Do personal work when you can. Get the chance to be fearless when it comes to collaborating with people who have mad skills that differ from yours. What I mean by that is don't try to do everything by yourself. When I first started, I was a videographer and I thought I ruled the world, and I had the eye and I got the best shots. And I was pretty good, I'm not going to lie. I thought I got some pretty good shots, but at the end of the day, if I would have had somebody to help me light, or somebody to pull a different angle, or just other people to help me in general to give me different ideas, I think the shots would have been better. So it took me a long time. I used to script it, I used to write it, I used to shoot it, I used to edit it, and I would put it out, which was fine because they were my clients and I was making a decent living doing what I wanted to do, and I was giving them what I thought they wanted. But then a couple years later, when I started working with producers or artists or makeup artists or people that could add their little bit, it made the projects just get that much better. So if you're in the sports, work with your friends, work on your own personal projects. That's how you're going to get noticed. Everybody's doing the same thing. If you ever notice on like NFL football, every weekend they do a feature on a player, and they go to his hometown and tell about how hard it was and where he grew up, and this is where he is now. That's cool the first 2 or 3 or 10 or 12 times you see it, but it gets old. What I would suggest you guys do is work on your own projects, collaborate, do something that's different, do something that's going to get noticed, and that's how people are going to start talking about you. And if you go to a client meeting, you're bidding on a job, and you've got 4 different people in this crowd all bidding on the same job. You might have 3 projects that look very similar, and there's probably going to be one that just really stands out. Try to look at what makes that stand out, or try to be the person that's doing that to make it stand out. Be different, take a chance. You might fail miserably. You might not get the job, or they might not call you back for 3 weeks. But at least try to do something different that hasn't been done before, and try to tell the story just a little bit better, whether it's visually or through, you know, music, through words, whatever. But just don't be afraid to stand out. I mean, take your chances and do it now while you're young. I mean, if I can go back 20 years, there's 100 things I would have done different. It doesn't mean they'd be better, but I think I would feel better with the quality of work that I put out if I would have done the stuff that I dreamt about the night before in my head. You know, just take a chance. Okay. What else? That's what I said. You can't do it all by yourself. That's what I just said. Another thing is you don't have to move to LA or you don't have to move to New York. There's a lot of stuff getting done in Nashville and Atlanta, Miami, Texas, Austin, believe it or not. They're smaller markets, so some of the students that I talk to, oh, I can't wait to get to LA and we're going to work on films, or I can't wait to get to New York. Well, New York's expensive. I'll be honest with you. And unless you've got fat pockets, it's going to be really hard for you to get to live there. So I would, like I said, I can't push personal projects enough. Do something you really want to do. If you have a passion, if you're passionate about it, do it. You know, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. There's things I've done and things I've got around, certain things. I probably shouldn't have done half the stuff I did, but I'm glad I did when I did it. So just take a chance. Not really.
All right, so I want to shift gears and I want to ask you, what's your most favorite project you've worked on in your career?
Back in '97 when I was living in Fort Myers, I was learning film. I was shooting with an Aton. It was a 16mm film camera. And John Nixon, he was an Australian director of photography. He took me under his wing and started teaching me how to do the 16mm stuff, different film stock work, how to push it. So he brought me to New York for the New York City Convention and Visitors Bureau, NYCVB, a project that they were doing. It was a 10-day film shoot in New York City, and it was to bring tourism back to New York City. So we loaded up the Magliner carts, and I was pushing around magazines and lenses. It was like, I think 12 or 14 cases. And I would have to push them down the street, get the tripod out, set the camera up, load the film, get everything ready, walk away, let John come in and shoot for about 20 seconds. Then he left, break it all back down, take it apart, put it on a cart. We did that for 10 days, but what was cool was I learned so much in those 10 days. We worked with Robert De Niro in his studio at Tribeca. We worked with the New York Rangers, the New York Knicks, Katie Couric, the whole Today Show crew. James Earl Jones did the voiceover on it. That was probably one of the coolest jobs I did. We got to see all the sites for free, basically, and shoot them. And I learned more in those 10 days than I did in that whole year. And it just, got me going forward and taught me about different lenses, different f-stops, different film stock. So that was one of my favorites.
That's awesome. It sounds like fun. So I think that you have a really compelling story about how you ended up here at Full Sail. Do you want to tell that?
It's not really compelling.
I think it is.
I graduated school, Edgewater High School locally, and then I started going to Valencia, and I was their photo editor for the newspaper at the time. The problem was I was into sports, like all the sports guys here, and Valencia had no sports teams. So it's kind of hard to cover sports when there's no sports teams. So I started doing the skateboarding stuff, the surfing stuff, things of that nature. And it was one day I was coming back from New Smyrna Beach. I was a passenger in a vehicle. We got in a wreck by New Smyrna Speedway and flipped 3 times. So messed up my neck, messed up a lot of stuff. And basically I was out of Valencia long enough where they said, okay, you withdraw from this class, withdraw from this class. So Full Sail had they had an ad in like the Orlando Weekly or whatever the newspaper was at the time, and it said, cool studio, come work here, come to school here, we have it all. So I showed up on a Sunday for the tour, and I was like blown away. Like, this place is pretty cool. Back at the time it was like beta cams, and the cameras were like this big, and videotape was as big as the computer I'm carrying now. But it was cool, so I signed up and did my entire 9 months. That's how long the whole course was then. And just went on from there. I was back 89.
90.
I'm old, shut up.
All right, do you have any tips for professionalism in your field?
For professionalism? What do you mean, like, explain?
How to be a professional?
You gotta dress up, which kind of sucks. No, just, you gotta be honest. Orlando especially is a very small market, and even in LA and New York, everybody knows everybody. It's funny, when you get out of school and you start working in the real field. I started as, I went to Long John Productions in Fort Myers, and the only reason I went there was because they were the only company that would intern me that dove. So we got to swim with sharks. I was a big diver at that time. Like I said, I was into surfing, so I was into underwater cameras and that stuff. So I started working there, and just because I moved from Orlando into a rental house, I didn't know anybody where I was. So it was like 24 hours of work. I was just learning everything I could. We didn't have the internet then. It was all books and instructor manuals for the switchers, for the cameras, for that sort of stuff. So I just read, and then I just branched out and started meeting the local people there. It's funny, a lot of people get work and they get too busy, so they don't want to say no to the client. You never want to say no to a client if you can help it. So what you do is you pass it off, or you hand it off, or you give it to one of your collaborators. So I got trusted enough where they would hand me their projects, and I would work for that particular company. So I wouldn't go and say, here's my rate, pay me. I would work as basically a day hired employee for them. And they were able to gain trust, and they would give me more and more and more work. Well, eventually when I got into my business, I got busy, and I would have to hand stuff off. So you have to pick the people that you trust, that are gonna do a good job for you, that are gonna represent you. Now going forward, 30 years later, I'm representing Getty, I'm representing AP, I'm representing the wire services, but I'm also having to represent some of the bigger companies that I work for, Publix. When I'm on a gig for Publix, I basically gotta find out what their standards are and represent them in that particular way. I'm not in the parking lot, I'm not smoking cigarettes, I'm not wasting their time. When you're there for a job, you go there for the job, you do the job, you get out, you be polite, and you just do your thing. So show up on time, show up early. You've heard that saying, if you're half an hour early, you're already late. In this industry, that happens a lot, because if you're into the film production part, locations change, weather changes. There's things that, you can be on your way to Daytona right now for a shoot and not realize that there's, a car wreck at 95 and I-4, which is going to take 3 hours to get there. So just try to get there early, try to get there on time. What else? Basically, don't burn bridges. There's going to be incidents. Eventually you're going to have it out with somebody, most likely over something stupid. Just bite your tongue, just move on. I know a lot of people, like I said, that have burned themselves by opening their mouth. Just be a professional, just carry on and deal with it later. Don't ever deal with something on site if you can help it.
All right, I'm going to ask my last question before I open it up to them. What do you enjoy most about what you do?
Oh man, I get to do really cool stuff. I get to travel. I get to meet a lot of professional athletes, which is cool. They're just regular people. They get built up so much in the media, and they're just really cool people. They just want their downtime. They just want to play with their dog, eat their food, listen to their music like all the rest of us. But I think the traveling is pretty cool. The traveling is my favorite part. I've got 2 boys now, 11 and 12, so I don't travel as much as I used to, but you just get to see unique things. You get to go in helicopters, you get to go underwater. I don't know, it's just, there's a lot to like about it.
It's never the same thing twice, right?
Exactly.
All right. Okay, so I want to open it up for you guys to be able to ask questions. There's a mic set up in the front of the room, so if you want to come up here to ask, feel free. And then for our online students, if you guys want to type Mike your questions, he'll be happy to proxy for you and ask them for Alex.
Don't be shy.
Looks like we got somebody coming up. It's a long walk from the back.
Hi, my name's Cameron Branham. Thanks for taking time to come and speak with all of us today. I have 2 questions, if that's cool.
Yeah.
The first one is just speaking as a photographer, what's the best way to build your portfolio? And then what kind of, how do you get, because equipment's really expensive to buy on your own. So what's the best way to kind of get the best equipment available that you can use for your work and your products?
Hi. The first question was again? I'm so concentrated on the second one.
Digital portfolio, or portfolio, how to build the best way to build your portfolio as a photographer.
Okay, the best way to build your digital portfolio. I'm gonna say do a nice website, but I haven't updated my Instinct Films website in 10 years, so I really can't say that. What I found right now—
You might know a guy.
Yeah, you might know a guy. You probably have a particular genre that you like to shoot. I don't know what it is, if it's sports, if it's action, if it's nature, whatever it is. I would start, just shoot away. Just start shooting, just start, messing up so you know how not to mess up, if that makes sense. Find something that you really like to enjoy, that you really like to do first. If there's a particular thing, if you like to shoot musicians, then just concentrate on that at the moment. Start shooting musicians, get local concerts, big concerts, behind the scenes stuff. If you can hook up with somebody that knows somebody in the band, maybe go to their house at a barbecue or something and shoot pictures that way. It doesn't always have to be them performing. You can go, basically do a video slideshow on a day in the life of or something like that if you want to, just to get 10 or 12 images there. And post that online, and then have your friends share it. Tag people when you put it up there so that they know there's something there. I wouldn't say you really give your photos away. Don't say, hey, I'll shoot you guys and I'll give you some photos, because that's a loss for you. You're not going to make any money that way. You might get exposure, you might not. Depends on how big the band turns out to be. But what I would say is just find something you really like to do and just concentrate on that. And that's the best way to get started. The second thing was how do you afford gear? Gear is crazy expensive, especially when it breaks. There's a website, if you're into still photography, there's a website called KEH, and what they do is they buy and sell refurbished equipment. And they give you fair prices. They grade everything from 1 to 10. 1 is really crappy, you're just gonna use it for parts. 10 is in great shape. I would start with that method. Another thing that you might be able to do is if you have a lot of friends that are in the similar mode as you don't have to buy the camera. You can buy the body, let them buy a lens, and let the third guy buy the lights. There's no reason why you guys can't collaborate. You have it a couple days. I'm gonna need it on a Wednesday. I gotta book everything for Wednesday. So I get the camera, the tripod, the lights, and the sound on Wednesday. You can have it Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Or hey, if you wanna come hang out with me, let's go, we'll shoot this together. So I would start out that way. Don't spend all your money up front, because what you're gonna end up doing is basically screwing yourself in the end. If you spend all the money up front, you're not gonna have money for travel, for food, to get there, to buy the online portfolio. That's what I would do, starting out. Now, when I quit my job, initially in '97, I took out a loan at the bank and bought a Betacam. It was 30,000 bucks at the time. I didn't even have a nice car, but I spent 30 grand on this Betacam because I knew when I left the company that I was working for, 4 or 5 of those clients were going to follow me. They already told me that they liked my work, they liked the style, they wanted to give me some work. So that's what pushed me out and made me start my own company. If you're just coming out of school right now, like I said, if you know somebody that has a red camera, if you know somebody that has a mixing board, if you know somebody that can help you, immediately collaborate now, so that you can set yourself up, you can get noticed, you can basically build your resume, and then hopefully make money going forward from there to afford the higher end gear.
Cool. Thank you.
Right
on.
Can you repeat the website you mentioned?
Oh, KEH.com. They're based out of Atlanta, I believe.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, the online students are buzzing a lot more than right now, so I'm going to start with some more. Philip Williams asked the question, what trends or projections do you think are going to drastically shape the industry in the next 10 years?
Wow, that's a good question. What trends are going to shape the industry? I've got a couple buddies right now that just, I can't give you their names because I promised I wouldn't, but they're getting into this VR big time, 360 video, and I'm just tapping my toe into the water at this point. I don't know that much about it, but I know that they're trying to push VR a lot. 360 Ricoh Theta cameras, or the GoPro bundles, whatever they're called. I'm not sure if that's going to be a fad or not. Right now everybody's getting into it and they think it's kind of cool. As far as the final usage for it, I'm not sure. I just don't know if that's going to work. I don't want to walk around with these big goggles on my face, I'll be honest with you. So I don't know that way. I know that in the still world, the cameras are getting better. They used to be 8 megapixels, 10 megapixels, 12, 20. Now they're up to 50 megapixel cameras, which is good. But the problem is the hard drives that you have to store all this stuff on for archives. You're going to have to use more and more and more and more bigger hard drives, which is obviously at the current time going to cost more money. Now, down the road, I think it's going to get cheaper. I think you'll be able to afford it, but I don't know. As far as trends go, I'm not a trendsetter. I follow sports. I shoot mostly sports, and for me, I think the trend is for the for the still photography industry on the sidelines to die. I think it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's unfortunate. You're not going to get as much footage. The NFL is going to own all the rights, they're going to own all the footage, and they're going to dictate what you see. So they're going to push their agenda, they're going to push their method, and they're only going to show you what they want to see, which I think as a journalist is really bad, because you're getting blocked out, you're getting censored in a sense. As far as video goes, I know obviously drones are still hot, everything's new. You know, drones have been around for a few years, but I think the rules are going to get just a little bit more relaxed in certain situations. You're still not going to be able to fly them in public spaces like you can right now because of, you know, just different things. But I don't know. I really don't know. If you read PDN online, Photo District News, PDN online, they're kind of a trendsetter. They let you know what they expect to happen in the next couple months, and that's a magazine that I would recommend you start reading.
Okay, and the next question's from Chloe Watson. They say, hi Alex, what are your suggestions for copywriting ebooks that has portfolio pictures?
Definitely do that. I'm working with a company called Elsevier right now on the medical books that I told you about, and we've done a lot of electronic books, a lot of ebooks, and definitely you're going to have to get those copywritten immediately. I would do that. That's as soon as that book is published. There's published works, there's unpublished works. I would put it in as an unpublished work, but I would definitely get that copywritten, because the way computers are now, people can steal anything. I mean, they can get in stuff that you don't even know they got into. So I would definitely copyright those now. I'm not sure if there's a way you can lock those books down or not, but I would go that route and then pay a subscription fee, or pay me $1, I'll give you a code to unlock the book. Also, I would not make it where you can share it, because the book will get stolen. So I would definitely copyright it immediately.
Okay, and Zacchaeus Nifong has a question of, how can people in the creative fields, i.e. marketing and photography, maintain intellectual property in a world where info is so readily available? And do you have a horror story about someone stealing an idea of yours other than republishing a nice photo?
That's a good question.
And he was looking for mainly techniques specifically.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, I could talk for days about different techniques to do. There's a bunch of different web builders. There's different people that are working on apps right now that I'm dealing with. I really can't tell you, but they're basically making lockdown. What am I looking for? Some sort of software that's going to lock your stuff down. It's like security type software. As far as ideas getting stolen, you can come up with an idea and say that it's yours, but somebody else is going to say it was theirs also. And basically, whoever gets it copywritten first is going to be the person that's going to have it on the books as that being their idea. So I wouldn't really share my ideas until I completed the project that I was working on. And then at that point, make sure it's copywritten and then release it for the masses and let it go that way. I could answer this question. It would be way too long for me to get into right now. If you want to shoot me an email, just go to alexmenendez.com and you'll get my email. Shoot me the question and I'll get back to you, because I don't want to. Honestly, it'll take too long to answer right now.
Okay, I have one more online question real quick. Crystal Caldwell wants to know, how long is the process to getting something copyrighted?
Once you put your images up and you register and you pay your $35, you're basically covered. I've known instances where it's taken up to 8 months to get your receipt back to prove copyright, but that doesn't matter. Once you've submitted the paperwork and they send you a receipt, you're as good as gold. Somebody steals your stuff tomorrow, basically you can say, I've copywritten it, I'll take you to court, pay me the money now, pay me what I want, pay me whatever it is, take it down. If you don't comply, then my lawyer will contact you. This is a copywritten piece of art, and it used to be one photo, if it was stolen, was punishable up to $135,000. I think it's $150,000 now per occurrence. So if they steal 10 of your images, you can basically say I want 150 grand per image, depending on how it was used.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
Well, I know there's another one online. I just wanted to give the campus students a chance to ask any questions. There is one from Trinell Harris. He said, can you copyright multiple photos at one time?
Yeah, you can. Once you upload them all, what I used to do is I used to take 4 or 5 or 6 events grab the photos, meta tag them so that each photo has my name on it with a copyright notice, bunch them into a folder, burn that to a DVD, and then I would send a hard copy of the DVD to the copyright office. Now, they will take that DVD and they will sit on it, put it in an envelope basically, and never open it. It's just there. And then if there was a case where I was going to go after somebody for using my photos, at that point, they would take the tracking number, go back and find the photos, open the DVD, and then find the photo that matched. There's little thumbnails, so they would just find a thumbnail that matched the photo that I said was stolen. You can upload, and if you go to the asmp.org site, it'll explain everything there, and that's the best resource, I think, at the time.
All right, any more questions out there? All right, I have one final question I'm going to ask you. What surprised you the most when you got out into the workforce?
What surprised me the most when I got into the workforce? What surprised me the most was that when I went to Full Sail, I got to learn MIDI and I got to learn all these big recording boards, and I think we were shooting on 35mm film. And what was cool was the fact that I had learned all this stuff from scratch over the past 9 months, and when I got into the field, some of the stuff that I'd learned here at Full Sail was actually better than the equipment that I was going to start working on, so I was overqualified. Which is kind of cool because it allowed me to show the person that I was going to work for that I knew what they were talking about, I knew how to control stuff. If they wanted to buy new equipment and get into the modern age, I'd be able to run it. So that was pretty interesting. It's pretty cutthroat out there, no matter what industry you're in. You know, everybody wants to get to the same place. Everybody wants to have a good paycheck. Some people want to get famous, which is not for me. But there's, you know, like I said, it's not a surprise. You just gotta, the way you're grown, the way you were raised is you gotta be true, you gotta be honest, you gotta be polite, and you gotta do a good job. You can be polite, you can be honest, you can do all that stuff, but if you're lazy, you're not gonna get ahead. So keep studying, keep reading. The online world is incredibly huge. There's nothing that you should not be able to not know how to do. There's always a way to get information on how to run a particular piece of equipment or how to get to a particular location. So there's no reason, there's no excuses anymore. I think the biggest thing is, you know, we're so modern now and everybody's so up that there's no room for excuses anymore. Do a good job. If the piece of equipment fails and you don't get the shot, that's not on you, that's the equipment not working. But you gotta have ABCs, you gotta have access, you gotta have batteries, and you gotta have a concept. Access is gonna get you in, you gotta find your way in. Batteries means you gotta have the equipment, you gotta make sure the equipment's working, you gotta make sure the equipment's gonna be, you know, capable of doing what you're trying to do. And C is concept, you gotta have something different. Like I said, don't do the same old story, it's boring. Do something new, do a different angle on the same story, you know. Make it interesting so people wanna see you, people are gonna come back to your site, people are gonna start following you, and that's how you're gonna get noticed.
Thank you. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I wish you all the best of luck. Every single one of you is out here. I mean, every single one of you can change the world. You guys can all do something special. You're all unique. And I'm just glad you guys, I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing, and go out there and change the world.
That's great final thoughts. All right, so I want to thank you, Alex, for coming in today and taking time out of your day to speak to our students and to our online cohort that's here. So let's give Alex one more round of applause for being here. All right, and that's a wrap. Thanks, guys.